everybody. Welcome to another episode of the HopCast.
Thanks for traveling with us.
I'm Brett Chmielewski.
My name is Ken Hunnemeder.
Special guest again.
Oh, yeah?
Steve Wyatt is here to share some tasty beverages with us.
There's some barley wines.
And, you know, we're outside among all these naked trees.
Yeah.
And so, what better way to celebrate that than with a vertical of bear tree?
Yeah, so we rented a cabin for the weekend. We're up here in Red Granite, Wisconsin, and we thought we'd bring up a little bit of local flavor. So these are from Two Brothers, which is just outside of Chicago, in a town called Warrenville, which is where Brad grew up. So
he's been drinking Two Brothers since he was 2.
he would have loved to, I'm sure. But this is their series. They do this once a year. This is their Bear Tree wheat wine.
Right,
so essentially,
it comes out around November.
Yeah, right. They have them, and even like this year they had them like specially painted. They're like hand painted bottles. Not this one. But they had them in like, the Magnum style. Like, so they're like 100 liters. You see them at the store sometimes, like the big Chimay bottles, or sometimes Stone does them with the Arrogant Bastard. They'll fill those up from time to time with certain things, and Bear Tree is one that they did.
I can't imagine drinking a Magnum of Bear Tree. It's what we're saying, probably all around 12%.
But yeah,
11 to 12%. I think they come around different exact points, but
in terms of ABV, it is more a wine than it is a beer.
Yes. So basically, if you want to talk about the style, it's kind of like a barley wine, but there's wheat in the malt bill, so they call them wheat wines. But again, the name deriving from having a huge fucking beer.
What makes a barley wine different from, say, a normal beer? Like, is it ferment longer to get at the high alcohol content?
Well, it will ferment longer,
okay.
Just based on the amount of time that the yeast has to. I mean, it obviously takes more time to eat more sugar.
Yes.
So this is kind of along the same lines. It just has a little bit of wheat into it. So should be a little bit, I'm assuming, a little hazy, a little bit more rounded
Cloudy.
and smooth. Yep. So let's crack them open.
Let's pour them all out and we'll compare and see what's been happening in these little guys.
All right.
So we poured all those out, and they all came out looking pretty much the same color. Kind of a light golden, a little lighter here on the 07.
I think yours is probably the lightest one, but the other ones are pretty spot on.
And they seem to be progressively more unfiltered as you move along in age.
Which could just be it's sitting down there at the bottom. Maybe this bottle's been resting a little longer.
Well, you know what? I think we traveled about 200 miles to get here. I think in travel, probably jostled the bottles around a little bit, and usually all that stuff kind of falls to the bottom, and you can decant off of it. But it should taste about the same. It just won't look quite as pretty. But
and then we were taking little smells. I don't think we tried. Maybe some people.
I may have snuck a peek.
But we're getting some corn in a few of them, and that's usually a sign of, what is it?
It's DMS.
DMS, yeah.
And kind of the way that you might get some of that in your beer, at least for homebrewers, I'm not sure how it would work on a commercial scale, but if you're covering your pot when you're boiling, all that DMS needs to boil out. So if you're covering it, it condenses on the top of the lid there and falls back into the beer. So you always want to boil with an open pot.
And so at a brewery, they would usually have
kind of
some sort of vent thing going
ventilation system. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the age. Simply the age of these beers might kind of multiply that effect. But
because the 07 smells a lot like corn. I was trying to figure out what it was, and then it hit me.
And I think what is weird about it, I think you get less of it in 08 and 09, but for 2010, it came back.
I wonder if they didn't like how these two turned out, and they were going back to something.
Well, I'm pretty sure Fairly certain that they kind of tweak the recipe every year.
Okay.
It's almost like a one-off for them to a certain degree. It's just they do it once a year. It's kind of a fun beer to make. It ferments for a long time. It's one of those that can age for a while, and so sometimes you miss, and you want to try something a little bit different, or maybe even it comes out really tasting really good, but there's something that you want to change about it. So yeah, let's go through the 07 and talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm liking the taste a lot more than the smell. I'm not getting the corn taste in there. Once you get past the aroma, it's pretty sweet.
Very sweet.
It's got like some tartness to it, and I'm curious about the yeast strain that they decided to use, because you're getting some weird, almost like kind of wild yeast type of flavors. And I don't think that they intended for that, but it tastes really good.
If you can get past the smell, it's one of those plug your nose and drink.
Well, I don't want to paint it the bad way, because I think that the aroma, it's not desirable exactly, but it's not like it's foul,
No. Yeah, when I was smelling, I was trying to, like I said, figure out what it was, and then it hit me. And now that I know what it is, it just kind of, I can't get away from it.
There's a little bit of it in the flavor as well. A little bit of that cream corn type of thing going on.
Is the yeast strain used for barley wine typically similar to a Belgian?
No. A typical Belgian or a barley wine yeast strain will just be like a high gravity, or even just a regular ale yeast, like American ale. Or even if you're making an English style, you could use an English ale yeast. But it should be fairly neutral. So this one's, I think, a different take, because I'm getting a lot of that weird yeast estery type of thing. So I'm very curious to see what they had used.
And so we're doing the 08 now.
So this is 08, yep.
But so they've been doing this since, I was looking online, I think since 2000. So they're tweaking
before our drinking time.
Just the wee little lad in diapers.
Before your legal drinking time.
That was even before my illegal drinking time.
That's missing any sort of aroma.
Yeah, it was.
The aroma is much stronger on the 07.
The first time I smelled it, which was off camera, but I really didn't get anything. But if you kind of swirl it up a little bit, it starts to activate a little bit more. I'm not sure if it's the difference in glass.
Yeah, we do have both little glasses getting the corn aroma.
I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but
is someone eating corn out of these glasses?
This one's really nice. It's like pretty balanced, and I think it's kind of pure as concerned with some of the infections that may have happened in the 07.
Infections being to the barley or to the yeast or to what?
Just the fermentation itself.
I see.
I almost feel like maybe they're all a little too cold, or that one, maybe a little more flavors are going to come out.
They're definitely cold because
would that be due in part to the fact that we're sitting outside and it's 30 degrees?
They weren't cold before,
not
but
quite sure.
When you're out here, it gets cold.
For those of you watching at home, it is a 10 on the chilly side out here. I'm not sure you couldn't tell, but I just wanted to clear that up in case.
Should have done it in the hot tub.
Hot tub barley wine.
Hot tub barley wine.
There's a movie in
there.
Yeah, I wanted to do a HopCast time machine.
Does that go back to 2000 for the first?
Yeah.
Wow, this one has a very strong, much stronger aroma than 07 and 08 do. This is 09.
This is 09.
And it tastes a little sweeter. The aroma, I'm again getting a little bit of that corn thing, like just a hint.
Not in a corner glass, by the way. So.
Right.
Yeah. So theory spoiled.
And it feels a little more carbonated. It's got a little more bubbles happening on the mouth.
Yeah, this style in general will have a lower amount of carbonation as compared to your regular, like English bitter or American pale ale, something like that. Just, sometimes these higher gravity beers, not only are they harder to carbonate, it works well. It's kind of that velvety type of mouthfeel that you want. Just kind of like a light carbonation.
Now, I'm not an expert, but I'm guessing that barley wines typically don't have any corn made in them, or corn used as part of the barley.
Typically,
or the
no.
malt. I see.
No.
Right, so
I just made a Pilsner that had some corn in it. But
some beers you can, but the barley wine isn't one.
I wouldn't say it's to style, no.
so what do you think? What do you think about that one? Were you getting any of the corn aroma?
I'm not really picking it up. I don't know if it's because it's too cold. But
the beers have definitely decreased in temperature.
I do kind of like the mouthfeel on this one with that extra carbonation. I like that.
I do too. I think the carbonation adds something to it. Helps release the flavor a little bit more so than in the 07 and the 08.
And this is the one where I was getting a little bit of the flavor of cedar, like a cedar aged beer. I know we've done famously the Cigar City IPA is aged on cedar, or they have one that is, and I know that they don't age this on cedar, but it's just a byproduct of fermentation. They kind of got some of that, like a little bit of tannin-y type of flavor notes to it, which I really dig actually.
Right, and I think that's a little more prevalent in the 2010. Inside.
The cedar?
I jumped in there, yeah. Getting a little woodier. It's the aroma isn't as strong as the 07. Now that we've done them all. But
yeah, this one is the aroma that I like least, actually.
Oh really? I didn't like those 07.
Taste is much better though. It tastes a lot better than the aroma would suggest.
Like off the bat, initially I get that corn like right away. This one I had to actually kind of like search for it. The 07 I did, but this one's a little bit more apparent to my palate.
I think right off the bat, I think my favorite was the 08. I think it was just clean. It just drank really well.
I think they got better as they went along, and the newer barley wines were better than the older barley wines. I definitely prefer the 09 and the 010 or the 09 and the 10 to the 08 and the 07.
I think my favorite was the 2010.
The 10.
It's a tad
slippery. Slippery on her. I just thought it was a little bit. It kind of had that fresh flavor that I was looking for.
Which one, the 09 or the 10?
The 09.
09, okay.
And it had that kind of interesting flavor that kind of set it apart.
So you think maybe the 2010 is a little too young? And
I think so.
That's sitting maybe. These are 12% beers, and they're meant to age even farther back than this.
Yeah, I mean they put the date code on the year vintage on the bottle for a reason. These are beers that you can certainly lay down, and that's why we're drinking one from 4 years ago.
So just happened to find it back there.
It's just a fun experiment to do. We always recommend you got to drink one fresh if you can, so that you have kind of a basis of comparison. And some beers age well and some don't, and some age for a certain period of time and they're in their prime, and that's the fun part, is opening up and seeing when that is.
This is typically released in the November, October, December month of
November, December, I think, usually.
So the 11
usually have it out just in time for Christmas.
I see.
Yeah, and that's where I got the 010. I got it for a Christmas present from my dad. Shut up! But
a recent craft beer drinker.
Yeah,
kind of converted him over.
You converted your father, huh?
I have.
He used to go to his pop's place, and it would just be lined with, what was it, MGD or something?
Rolling Rock.
Rolling Rock.
And so now it's Two Brothers.
Now it's all local Two Brothers stuff.
But great to see this lineup. I think I'm going to kind of do a little blend of maybe these three.
I think it's a great idea.
And then, 07. Maybe they've perfected it. Put it in a better bottle.
I would say the 07 was probably my least favorite. But when was this beer originally? When did they start brewing the
2000?
2000. Okay, so it's been around for quite a while.
But bottles changed.
But they are.
Label
maybe they're
design.
just getting better.
So, yeah, great. Definitely do your own vertical and see how the beer holds up. We got a few other ones we're gonna do on another show, so we'll see.
Yeah, and you made a good point. If there's one that you don't particularly care for, blend it with something else and see if you like it that a little bit better. Maybe sometimes the older ones get freshened up, have a little splash of the newer vintage in there. So try that out too.
Young blood.
After all, it's just beer, so screw it.
Thanks for watching.
All right, cheers.